All right, good evening. Currently 6:01 p.m. I'd like to call this regular meeting of the Holly Township Parks and Recreation Commission to order. The current time is, as I said, about 6:01, 6:02 p.m. Please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Commissioner Earl, can you please call the roll?
Yes. Commissioner Carl.
Here.
Hutchins. Here. Wright.
Here.
Earl. Here. We have a quorum.
I'd like to note for the record that Commissioner Jane Bias DeSessa has notified us in advance that she will not be attending tonight's meeting. I will entertain a motion to excuse her absence. So moved. Do I have a second?
Second.
Moved by Hutchins, seconded by Carl. Commissioner Earl, roll call, please.
Carl.
Yes.
Hutchins. Yes. Wright.
Yes.
Earl. Yes.
All right. Next is the approval of minutes. Item A is to move to approve the minutes for the regular meeting of April 9th, 2025. Everyone have that in their packet. There's no discussion. I'll move to approve the minutes of regular meeting of April 9th, 2025. Do I have a motion?
A motion.
Motion by Earl. Do I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Carl. We're going to do a voice roll call vote because it does not pertain to finances. So all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Second item is to approve the minutes of the special meeting of April 29th, 2025. I believe everyone has a copy of that as well. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, I'm sorry. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes of the special meeting of April 29th, 2025?
I will motion that.
Motion by Earl, do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Carl, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. All right. Has everyone had a chance to review tonight's agenda? Hearing no discussion. Do I have any changes or additions? Hearing none? If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve the agenda as submitted. Do I have a motion?
I will motion that.
Motion by Earl. Do I have a second? Supported by Hutchins. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Now we go into the public comment on items listed on tonight's agenda. Members of the public can address the commission once recognized by the chairperson for items listed on this agenda only. Comments are limited to 4 minutes. The commission may extend this time for up to an additional 4 minutes by majority vote. Prior to addressing the commission, members of the public are asked to state their name and address for the record. Is there anyone for public comment? Please. Ma'am, if you would push that button on the mic to turn it on for me, I'd appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Right on. Thank you. I'm Cheryl Everly from 314 Hadley Street, and we're going to make a presentation, but I just wasn't sure if anybody here wanted to say anything because they're here with our group before we actually do the presentation, or how you wanted to do that. So.
Thank you.
Hi everyone, I'm Christine Connell. I am 309 Airport Drive here in Holly. I served as a teacher here for many years and my kids went through Holly. I know, I'm too short. Someday I'm gonna grow. I'm preschool size, sorry. My husband's a sound man. I would love to see theater here again in Holly. My kids grew up on Holly Theater. And I just think it's a great thing for all the kids. It involves everybody. There are so many things for everyone to do. There's so much to learn. There's sound, there's teamwork, and I think it would be a great thing for all of our youth to be able to use Holly Theater again. Lou is an amazing director. She works very well with the kids. The kids love it. Beth Ann was here when theater started in Holly. It's how my daughter met Beth Ann, and I just think it's a great thing and something that would really serve our community well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, I'm Beth Ann from 308 North Saginaw Street. I'm a newly graduated senior. When I was younger, I did youth theater through Laura Legant's Holly Youth Theater Company, and I think it really helped me learn how to have a great presence in the world, and I really would love to see that for the younger generation nowadays. It was a great outlet for me to get to learn new people, and it was just an amazing, and I would love to see Miss Harding and Miss Sherilyn do that for our Holly community. Thank you.
Thank you. For the record, congratulations.
Hi, I'm Michelle Elliott, 9580 East Maple Street here in Holly Township and Village. I've been involved with theater for the last 30 years. A lot of it's been with Laura Legant, and recently for the last number of years with Lou Harding. And she's just to be with her and spend time with her. I mean, I always gush over her. She's used to this, but she's amazing. I mean, even just to go to a rehearsal and watch her teach the kids, and the different seminars that she brings in, these professionals that teach these incredible seminars to the students about movement and about improv and all these different things. It's just phenomenal. And I love Sherilyn. She's done some great things in our community too with theater. I've worked through Laura for about the last 10 years in choreography, and then in assistant directing and in production assistant and all these positions. My dance background goes back to age 3. I had a 50-year dance career. And so to be able to continue to give back in our community. My 2 daughters went to Holly schools and went through all the choir and theater and went on and continued to do those kind of things. So I definitely would like this to continue. Thank you.
Anyone additional for public comment? Hearing none, seeing none. There's no unfinished business listed for this meeting, so we'll go on to number 8, new business. Our first item is to receive and accept the fiscal year 2024-2025 audit report presented by Lewis and Knopf, CPA PC. Inviter I see is Alan Gamble.
So, good evening, everyone. I'm Alan Gamble with Lewis & Knopf CPAs. I'm an audit manager at the firm, and I've been there for about 8 years now. And I think I've been doing this audit for at least the last 5 years. I've been working with Joe on this audit, familiar face, and so everything's been going smooth for the last couple of years. And so we'll go through this little presentation packet I have for you guys here today. It's this one, and then if the public wants to follow along, there's a couple extra copies on the end of the table there as well. So this kind of just recaps what you'll see in your actual financial statements. We kind of simplify it so you don't have to go through all the numbers and say what the heck's going on here for non-auditor types of stuff. It gets very confusing, some of these note disclosures. So auditor's opinion, you did receive a clean, unmodified audit opinion. That is the highest level of assurance you can receive on your financial statements. That is what you always want to see. We didn't have to qualify anything. Everything looked good. Working with Rachel, your accountant, she did a great job, and she was always ready for us, and we'll have the books reconciled. And while we did have to make a couple adjustments, they weren't that significant, and so we were able to issue a clean, non-modified opinion. And so while we did issue a clean on modified opinion, there is some control issues we report to the board that has to go to the state as well. And one of those is just due to a budget issue. You guys ended up being $2,000 over budget on your based on your final budget, so we're required to report that to the state. And in theory, to us, it's not a significant amount. The state's not going to be worried about it, but they just ask us, was the district over budget? We say yes, and then they say, was any over budget by 10%? And you guys are well under that 10% threshold, so we say no. And I don't believe you've had any follow-up since with the state, but I don't think they're ever too concerned about that budget issue. And well, there's a budget slide farther down, but just to give you guys advice in the future, you may want to talk to Rachel next month before June and get a final budget amendment. Typically is what the parks and stuff will do right in June, right before your year end, and then you can see where your expenditures are at and pretty much match them right up, so then you're kind of right in line, and then give yourself a little conservative wiggle room too, so you can make sure you come in under that budget. And then the other issue, or not an issue I should say, but finding that's common with the parks and other places of your size, the segregation of duties. And due to the small size, and especially last year with the limited board and just Rachel and just not really anyone else involved in the process kind of type thing, it's just a segregation and compatible duties is what it's called, the kind of control issue, and it's always recommendation to get as more people involved in the process as possible. But it's always a cost-benefit analysis type thing. How much do you really want to spend to get that extra oversight? And you guys never really do have any issues with your books. It's just something we report. And this finding is something the state always asks too. Do you have any findings other than segregation of duties issues? So it's so common, it's just kind of they don't worry about that, but it is in your statements. And you will see in your auditor opinion page that you GASB statement number 100 was issued in the current year. That's called accounting changes and error correction. That doesn't mean you guys did anything wrong or there's any errors. It's just a standard name of the note. It sounds silly. People kind of question that. Why is that in there? And but that is just a new accounting standard that may come up down the line if you guys do have future errors. Looking at the next page will be your fixed assets or your government-wide assets. So this is pretty much your building right here, $162,000 of the original cost that it was recorded. Machinery and equipment, $9,300. Vehicles, $11,000, and your depreciation on the books for that is $122,000 for a net capital asset value on your books of $61,000. Going to the next page, we're looking at your balance sheet results for the year. You guys are in really good financial position right now. Your cash is at $244,000. Again, this will be as of June 30th, 2024, so 11 months ago now. So might be slightly different, but your cash increased by $63,000. And then the accounts payable, we had $1,500, not much in there. And then, so as you can see, their fund balance at the end of the year was at $253,000, which is an increase of $72,000 from the prior year, which is always awesome to see. And you guys are at a very stable position with that $253,000 at the end of the year. Looking at your revenue results, this is kind of where a lot of our audit procedures come into play. Obviously, with your guys, property taxes is the biggest part of your revenue, so we dive deep into those and do a property tax analysis and reconciliation to make sure that you guys are getting paid what you should be based on your property tax values and millage rates. And so everything looked good there. And as you can see, for the prior year and the current year, that does make up 96% of your total revenue, so key to keep getting those property taxes. And then 2% for charges for services and 2% for miscellaneous other, which is primarily interest income. On your expenditure side, your expenditures in 2023 were $114,000, and for 2024 were $146,000. But again, that was just a slight increase in your payroll costs during the year, and nothing real drastic there that looked out of whack. And again, with your additional revenue, you definitely had enough money to cover it with your increase in fund balance. Looking at your final budget to actual, on the revenue side, you had a final budget of $210,000. Your actual, little typo there, but it should be $218,000. So you actually came in $8,000 more than you budgeted for a positive variance, which was always good to see. And on the expenditure side, again, this is where we had to report the finding to the state. We had a final budget of $144,000, actual of $146,000. So a variance of $2,000 over budget, negative variance. And again, I think actually looking at your books, you had like accounts payable of $1,600. And I think maybe you guys have been looking at a cash basis statement when you did that final budget, so that $1,600 in payables was not reflected in that balance, making you go slightly over, as I believe what looked like what happened there. But again, so that's what I recommend, just making sure you're a little conservative on the, give it, a 5% increase or something, just to make sure that you have a wiggle room so the state doesn't question it. And so while you budgeted for a $66,000 increase, you actually came in at $72,000, so better than anticipated. Looking at the income statement trends, this graph just kind of shows year over year how you guys have performed. 20 to 22, and kind of like COVID years, you guys are pretty steady, and then with not really much of an increase in your fund balance. Then 23 and 24, your payroll costs decreased after Tony retired and the executive director kind of decreased your payroll costs, and actually really significantly started to increase your fund balance the last couple of years. And this next page kind of just reflects that same trend, shows your fund balance remained pretty steady around the 80,000 mark for the 2022, and then increased all the way up to 253,000 at 2024. So very good to see right there. And just some concluding comments. I know that Mary mentioned that you guys had questions about the accounting fees. The prices have kind of increased the last couple of years. So I have a couple piece of information here so yeah, like in 2021, the bill was $5,200, and then the 2022, it went up to $5,500. And those are the COVID years. We kind of kept the bill lower, and then before that, our contract ended in 2020. So the last 4 years have kind of been just on a per WIP basis. And so up to 2024, we got to $8,500 with our WIP on the job being $10,158. So it's the 84% realization. It's just kind of this essentially inflation over the years on these jobs, and just the cost of audits are increasing. And so what we can do too is we can send out a proposal for future years, like a 1, 3, or 5 year, however you guys would like, and then you guys can approve it. And I do recommend always doing something like that every couple of years. Always smart to do. You can put up RFP to the other firms as well and kind of price check in the area. But of course, we don't want to lose you guys, so we're always let us know. But I always do recommend that you guys always put it up for bid every couple of years.
Is there any question for Mr. Gamble?
So is there any negative reaction then from the state for being that $2,000?
Typically, no, I think you would have already received correspondence if there was, and I think since you actually budgeted for an increase, or your fund balance increased from what was projected, that's more what they'll see that and say, okay, that's okay. And
Okay.
so I guess for the new board too, I should mention that's the other thing to make sure we want to do in the future is so the financial statements are due to the state by December 31st each year officially. We've been filing late the last couple of years, just kind of late getting information and stuff on the back end. But I think, if we can start this audit, I think Rachel's usually done pretty quickly after year end. If we can even start it in July, August this year, as soon as she has the information to us, if she can send that over, we can get it done a lot sooner to make sure that is covered in the future too. So.
Because I think that she was waiting to hear from you before she sent information.
Yeah, and we were trying to get a hold of I forget her name, the old board president.
Oh, okay.
We lost the communication with her.
All right, very good. Well, we'll make sure that doesn't happen.
Perfect. Yeah.
Okay.
Any other questions for Mr. Gamble? I just had one, Mr. Gamble.
Yep.
Was the 8,500 fee in 2023, or was that in 2024?
In 2024, I actually got a little. Take this.
Thank you very much. That's something we can keep?
Yes, you
Okay,
keep that.
thank you very much.
Actually, want to keep this a couple copies, but this will be like a WIP report, kind of, to show us how we got up to our the 10,000
Okay.
WIP for last year.
And WIP stands for what?
So I guess I was kind of using more of a construction term, but like work in progress. So like we kind of have rates kind of like an attorney would, I guess, our billable hour rate times the hours we put in. We kind of have to log each 15 minutes each day, and that kind of just makes up our total. So not maybe necessarily a loss for us, but based on our billable rates, that's kind of how we analyze our performance and realization.
Do you know how long you've actually been doing our, I know you've said you've several years, right?
I believe was it 5 years, Joe? Do you know? I think it's 5.
Yes.
Okay.
Usually, we should suggest 3 years, 3 to 5 year term with our auditors.
Yeah.
At least 3 years. That way there's more stability with our auditors.
Yeah. So I think it was we had a 3-year term, and then so the last 2 years we've been without a.
I see.
I've been through a lot of audits over the years.
Yeah.
Any other discussion, questions? If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve, I'm sorry. Lost my position there. If not, I will entertain a motion to accept the audit report as presented.
So moved.
Moved by Hutchins. Do I have a support?
Support?
Support by Carl. Roll call, please.
Hutchins,
Yes.
Carl,
Yes.
Wright,
Yes.
Earl, yes.
Motion passes. Thank you very much.
Thank
We
you, guys.
appreciate your time.
We're always available for questions if you guys have any more.
All right. Next, I'd like to invite Manager Blanchard to introduce the next item on the agenda, the Summer Youth Theater Camp presentation.
Bye, Alan, thanks. I would like to introduce Sherilyn Everly and Lou Harding. They are with, the program that they are presenting is for the Holly Township Parks Summer Youth Theater Camp.
Well, Lou and I can get in a lot of trouble.
Yeah, doesn't take long.
And about a year ago, I invited Lou and Angie Brogman over to my house because I had written the outline of a play. And one of the things that is lacking in Holly, especially with the Holly Days, is we've lost the Carrie Nation Festival, the Carrie Nation Play, and this kind of was percolating in my head, and I love the mural in the Battle Alley Brew Club of the clownies and the townies, you know, behind the bar, so that was my inspiration. So we talked about different ways to make it happen, and then I kind of just dribbled away. Well, I'm the secretary of the Alumni Association, and C.J. Brumler, you guys would recognize their name, she was quite a driving force in the arts here in Holly, and we recently renamed the Alumni Scholarship the C.J. Brumler Fine Arts Award. So I had the opportunity to put her with Lou, talk about this outline, and I just sat back, and they went, this is, oh, and this is gonna be moving theater, it's gonna go through the town, and we can do this, and we can do that. And I was just so blessed because that was my vision, and they were talking about it. So what we're looking for from the Township Parks is we need a home. We'd like to be able to run this under your umbrella. When people write a check for their camp week, we'd like it to come to Holly Township Parks, and then consider Lou to be the contractor. I'm not gonna get paid. These folks are all willing to give their time. If we could manage a stipend to them, that's probably what we'd be looking at. We don't wanna be an imposition, but we think this is just a great time. I love Mary, I know how much she's done for the community, and if we could bring some life and activity to this group of kids, 13 to 18, I mean, we're targeting the kids that everybody says need something to do, and we could do it holding hands with you guys. I think it would just be great for the community. We can answer any questions?
Absolutely.
Lou's the expert. I'm just the.
That's a really and I'm really short too, y'all know. Yeah, I'm happy to answer any questions about my background personally, you know, what I bring to the table, my love for the students and the youth of Holly, and the gigantic shoes that I fill that have been left empty by Dr. Laura Legant. I'm here to try to answer any questions you might have about this program and about our goals with it.
Can you expand on, like, the timeline and things that you would need from the parks?
Yes. So I sat down, and I was teasing with Sherilyn earlier. I said, I mathed. I sat down and looked at how much time I typically spend with the students at the high school putting together, for example, the annual musical. Of course, at the high school, we do like 4 to 6 performances of different things a year with the theater kids. But the musical is usually the biggest, and that's about a 60 to 75 hour commitment of time between myself and my students, that I actually have students on board and we're either building or rehearsing or we're doing sound, whatever. So sitting and looking at that, we had discussed options for doing something during the day, possibly as much as 20 hours a week. And I sat down and did those numbers today, and I thought, you know, if we do that, then we could potentially start, if we're going to do it 5 days a week, we could do 4 hours a day starting the 28th of July. And then we would need to be done because, you know, I do teach school here, so I'd have to be available to go back to the high school probably about the 3rd week of August. And then at that point, we would just need some time on Saturdays, possibly to run some things and to run rehearsals.
We're building this as we go.
Yes, very much so.
A lot of it will depend on, you know, where the kids are coming from and what they want to learn. We've also got some other people in the community that are willing to host this. Just to pique your curiosity, one of the pieces, the elephant's getting bigger. It's now a life-size puppet elephant, like you would see in the Lion King, is part of the production. And so we're trying to find a space where we could do paper mache or, you know, build it and be messy and whatever.
My set builder guy, we are already drawing. So I usually design things and he builds what I design. So we're looking for a home where we can be messy and kind of do that and get that puppet.
The American Legion thinks that they're going to be open by the end of July, and we've talked to them about, because they have like better floors for dancing and that sort of thing. So they'll be moving pieces up until the time we actually publish and say this is what we're going to do.
And I will devise a very specific curriculum along with a schedule, relying on some of the brilliant folks you see here in this room, as their time commitments elsewhere will allow for them to come in and workshop with our students, with our kids. But there will literally be a curriculum and a schedule of, we are doing this on this day, this on this day, this on this day.
And Lou has a cadre of wonderful students, theater students, that we're going to try to entice to be counselors so that they can share what they know, and they're going to go off to college pretty soon, but we'll get what we can out of them.
What type of schedule would you perceive sooner, in like how many times a month?
In terms of when we would meet with these guys, if we're going to run it as a camp, then we need to look at how many days a week we're going to do that, and because that's kind of, you know, we also have to think about what our parents are needing, and how many hours a day.
They want this to be just within the summer.
Yeah, at this point, just within that, like basically within about 4 weeks, the end of July to roughly the 3rd week of August. And then a couple of Saturdays in between, if necessary, between this time and holidays.
And if Mary had something that she needed the space for, we certainly would accommodate. We might come to the beach for that day, you know, depending on what we're working on. Or we talked about, since we both have our friends at the Renaissance Festival, just even a day to take the kids out and give them an experience behind the scenes. You know, there's just endless things you can do in the name of.
And because our end goal is to create an interactive, progressive piece of theater that's going to happen outside, and the audience is going to move from place to place, dress rehearsals may end up being in Battle Alley because that's where it's going to happen. So we are looking for, at this point, it needs to be a little fluid. We are willing to work around what your needs are. If we can't do 4 hours a day, but we could do 2 hours a day and shift that to later in the afternoon, we're flexible.
Probably one of the bigger lifts we're gonna do is provide lunches for the kids. And
That's going to be a big lift.
We're gonna start talking to the community about, teenagers, we're feeding pizzas.
Yeah, lots of hot dogs.
We'll figure that out.
Well, because we don't have any kind of kitchen facilities. right?
No, we would definitely be we're going to be working with some people in the community to bring things in. We do this all the time.
Yeah.
They're laughing because they
You guys
know.
do this all the time?
This is what we do. This is how we run our program at the high school. It's very hands-on. The reason that we're going to bring high school students or recent graduates in is because they do it. They run the tech. I work with parents to organize snacks and meals, and volunteers bring that in. We do not rely on the food service from the school district to provide anything for any of our theater technicians, any of our actors, none of the kids in the orchestras. We make sure that we feed them. So we typically get donations, and we bring it in and take care of that. So
Thinking about the ideal size, the age groups, and the need for parking, do we accommodate that? We're limited.
that's an excellent question. My guess is, and I'm guessing, but I'm assuming, that's a little horrifying, but I'm assuming because it's sort of a camp kind of a scenario, that parents are going to drop their children off and then come back and pick them up. So from that point of view, we're probably going to need to be outside on some days until we get sort of maybe we create a pattern, parents pull in this way and drop off, pull in this way and pick up kind of scenario.
But we are limited to 20 kids.
We are limited to 20 kids, so that's
It
gonna,
might be easier for you to have them drop off in the parking lot by the ball fields.
exactly, and walk
through,
back.
Because that would be a lot easier for flow.
Sure.
And this will get more people familiar with the park here too. Hopefully we'll get a whole new group of folks that have never been here before. So.
I also see this as a big win for my kids who are in the theater program at the high school now, as well as the recent graduates who are planning to go on and do some theater at the collegiate level. It gives them a chance to share their knowledge and to grow themselves in terms of being able to present that knowledge, being able to lead and guide younger students, being able to be part of the production team as our adults are, right? And everybody's going to own a piece of it. So it's very much a hands-on. The kids will have their hands on the work.
I think the one advantage too for younger students is it gives them that chance to learn when they've had no exposure before.
Yes, and from the other perspective, when we have middle school kiddos that come out that are involved with current high school students, it makes that transition from middle school to high school much less stressful for those children. So it really helps to build that, that emotional learning piece of the transition into high school.
Excellent.
So is this going to be an annual thing?
That's the plan, yeah.
Okay. It's exciting.
And then one day I'll pass the torch to someone, and they'll take it over and run.
I have a question.
Beth Ann's like, I'm going to college.
Yeah, I'm just excited about this. I think it's just a great benefit all the way around. I just hope that you would like to have us come and play with you.
Commissioner Hutchins, you had a question?
Quite a few years back, we had the Richter Theater. Were you guys involved with that at the Richter?
I was not, even though I was quite a few years back. I worked. I started here. Sherilyn actually hired me. I was the entertainment director at the Michigan Renaissance Festival for 3 seasons.
Was that Rick?
At Richter, that was Laura Gantz.
So we were.
And before that, Joseph Mishler.
Joe Mishler.
And you know I was, if you remember me.
Yep. Yeah. Then
So
the
I was
roof
working
leaked.
more on the C.J. Brumler side of things. things. I was doing a lot of dance here in Holly.
I remember CJ when they had the soda fountain downtown too, years ago. I think she's still in Tawas.
Yep, they've got a place down here now, too.
Well, cool.
Just
It-
one more thing is Bill Cole, William Cole, lives right there on the mill pond. He is installing 3 Wurlitzer organs, pipe organs in his little barn. And I've already talked to him about being involved in helping us with the circus music.
Yeah, oh, there's all,
He has 3 Wurlitzer pipe organs that he has installed in a garage he had specially built,
Oh, man.
right on the mill pond.
Is that right on the road there?
Yeah.
Yeah, I know, I've been
That
watching
big white one?
Yeah.
Yep.
you know, when you stop and think about it, I've said this about Holly Lake always. You're just a pocket of immense talent in so many different areas, right? In terms of the arts specifically, and yet there's nothing happening here right now. And there hasn't been since Laura, but specifically, even Laura's program was primarily geared through that kind of middle school age. And once they got into upper middle school and into high school, it was happening on the high school campus, but in the community, not as much. And I really feel like that's where the gap is. The gap is, what do we offer these kiddos between the ages of, say, 12, 13, and 18? Many of them take jobs in the summer. That's great. But what do they do when they're not working, right? And we always hear about all the things that they're doing that they shouldn't be doing, right? Skateboarding in the middle of Maple Street or whatever it was. Stealing things. And let's give them a place to put all that energy.
So when you picture a typical day, like what time would you start, what time would you end?
Well, and again, that depends upon what your needs are and the availability of, I can't say that 3 times fast this late in the day, availability of the space, right? So we would start in the morning with a gathering. The way theater works is I pull everyone together. We do yoga. For about 15 minutes, we do a yoga warm-up. From that, we go into a theater game, which is not competitive, but it's literally to get them thinking and get them outside of their head and get them working together as a unit. And then we would move on to the morning activity, whatever that is. If it's working on improvisational acting skill, and that's what's on our agenda for that day, then we're going to split up into different age groups and rotate them through specific things like understanding yes and, how to build a scene, yes and, how to approach someone in a crowd and you're going to interact as a character. In this room right now, there are 2 people that I would approach right away. The rest of you, maybe no. I would approach you and I would approach you. And I would teach them, why do we choose those people and how do we choose those people, right? And typically, the reason being that you're the kind of person, just by your demeanor, who would tend to interact back with that child, right? And you come off as being the most loving mommy lady. And so they're going to interact, you're going to interact with them. So we teach them how to do that. So we would kind of move through those things. One day it would be working on costuming. I've got an incredible costumer who would be coming in and they're going to build their own costumes for this. So she would work with them and spend maybe the afternoon that day on costuming. Then the next day we would go through the same process. We're going to take a lunch break in the middle. We go through that whole same process and maybe your afternoon is building the elephant. And so we're going to go off-site here, meet somewhere else, or however we set that day up, or we meet at that location in the morning. So, and then we always come together at the end of the day and we revisit, what did you learn? What are we doing? And here's what we're going to do tomorrow. So there's continuity throughout the day and they will know before they get there what they're working on the next day.
And before we put anything out to the public, you certainly are going to have the okey-dokey in, because we'll have to do a schedule.
Absolutely.
You know, that's all going to have to be there as part of the recruitment. So that'll be in stone before anything goes out.
Yes. Including and hopefully, I'm going to be able to cherry pick a few guest artists that I think might be in the area too.
Well, just for the commission's sake, I out of town. The first week in July to like the 8th, and then for 3 days mid-July. So we'll have that portion of it. But we're going to have quite a few returning beach staff, and I think that those days when I'm not able to be here, we can easily recruit somebody from the beach to come and fill in here as well.
Any other questions?
I just wanted to say, I might catch some heat on this on social media, but I am graduate of Benton High School back in '99, and I was a member of the play production company under Mrs. Ruby Zima, and I cannot begin to explain the benefit drama had all my life. So I'm totally in support of this. So
Theater is amazing.
it is.
Teaches the kids camaraderie. I know when Beth Ann and my daughter were doing theater together with Laura DeGant, it didn't matter what part you got when you auditioned. I mean, you always wanted to be the lead, but you saw that, wow, my role as an ensemble, if I don't say my line right, she's gonna miss her cue, and you really got to see everybody working together. It just, from production to building the set to being on stage, they're just such a family, and it's not like sports,
Right.
because sports is a family too, but this is just a total different way to look at things, and the kids just love each other and support each other, and it's just good to see youth supporting each other no matter what, and being friends and working together for a final result, which is what we do when we grow up and work, right? We have to work as a team, and it really shows team support.
And Lou was smart enough to invite me to be Betty Blast in Footloose, her first production, so she hooked me.
And to be honest, that's, my end goal is to build something where I'm pulling more adults from the community in and letting them work in tandem with our youth in productions as well. One of the reasons why I ended up in theater at all, right? Because I just grew up in an artistic household. My dad was a visual artist, my mom a choir director, and I grew up a ballerina and a dancer. And I fell in love with theater when I recognized that there is literally a home for everyone. You can be 100 years old, you can be 10. You can be, some of my best actors in high schools have been athletes. I actually ended up having a child who was a baseball player go on to college for theater and excel and take tons and tons of awards down in Texas. And, in Texas, everything's a competition, including theater. But the fact that anybody and everybody belongs, and there's a home for everyone, and everyone is vitally important, makes it such a unique experience, well above and beyond, honestly, anything else.
So the other question I had is, you're going for 20 campers,
Mm-hmm.
and at $200 a week, I'm anticipating it's not necessarily going to be the same 20 carrying through. Do you?
Yes, it would be.
It would be.
Yes, because the way we're setting it up
Okay.
is the performance is at the end, and that's in September. So it's the same group of campers all the way through because they're going to be cast in different roles and be working backstage, and that's their job. So at the end of the experience of, I know our dates here are pretty flexible, but at the end of our, say, 4 to 6 week experience, they're actually putting on a performance downtown for holidays. So we can't jump ship every week with like different
I see.
actors or
Okay.
different techies. We've got to carry that over.
And we've compared other theater camps, we're about half the price.
Yep, easily.
We're about half the price for a week theater camp.
And having done this before, the production quality that we are planning is well above and beyond the quality of production that I have in other camps, art camps that I've worked in the past. So this is a bit bigger chunk to bite off, but I really think that it's totally doable, and it's more aggressive. It's just a higher goal.
Any other comments or discussion from the commission? Thank you
I
very
do
much.
too. Thank you. Thank you for your time.
All right, moving right along. Item C is a discussion and possible approval of opening the beach for Memorial Day only. Commissioner Carl, would you present this item?
I will. I didn't know it was gonna be here. I thought we were gonna do this in a special meeting, but be happy to talk about it. Typically, we open when the kids get out of school, which can probably be close to mid-June. And I think, given the fact that Memorial Day activities at the beach, near the beach, at the village park, cemetery area can draw quite a few people in and around. And I think it's a good opportunity to showcase the beach, assuming, you know, we're ready to open. Got a lot of work to do yet, but I think, again, we're missing a lot. Depending on the beach being open, I don't think centers around high school kids. I think it's family orientation. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much.
Bye. Thank you.
And I also think too, if the weather dictates, that's a factor. I mean, if it's 70 degrees plus, it's a great time to open the gate and let people in if they want to come up for the day and have a picnic and utilize the facilities and what we are supposed to do to serve the public. So it's an idea that I know in the past we were open Memorial Day, and this goes back a while. I wasn't here at the time, but I was made aware of it. At one point, we had a sign on the beach that said, kids under 14 years of age have to be accompanied by an adult. So, you know, if that's, you know, what we've been for the last few years, it doesn't serve the public. And it's not necessarily dependent upon high school kids. So, again, I think we need to consider maybe a preview. Doesn't mean we have to be open every day in June. I think also moving forward, we should be temperature dependent. There's no reason if it's 60 degrees to have the beach open. We could save some staff money on that. But assuming that the temperatures turn, like today, 72 I think was a high, I think it's a great time to open the gate and let people enjoy the beach.
So now you're talking though just for Memorial Day, or are
I
you
saw,
thinking?
If we're ready, not only Memorial Day, but those days in June that it's, let's say 70 degrees plus. Why not? I think the worst thing could happen, it's 78, and people want to enjoy, you know, being close to the water, and the only place that they can do that is at the village park, or go to the steps or something, and we should be available to them. So, I would say, temperature dependent, come Memorial Day weekend, we're open through June.
Okay, the one thing that I see as a issue is the staffing. That we would have to start that much sooner, and that's gonna affect the budget.
Mm-hmm.
But we're also gonna have to spend that time getting the beach ready.
Mhm.
Even though the ASP and Joe and that, I mean, spent a lot of time, and it shows. I mean, it really was an excellent, preparation.
Mm-hmm.
But that wasn't even touching the stuff at the end of the beach, where, you know, we have all the animal feces and everything else still. And the inside of the shack is gonna need to be detailed, and particularly if we're gonna be offering concessions, to have to do that. And we have to make sure the freezer works and the cooler, unless we're gonna buy a big cooler like James has for Little League, where it's, you know, they put all the pop and stuff right in a big cooler.
Concessions would be great, but we haven't had concessions in years. So I don't think, you know, it would be, if we didn't have concessions, it wouldn't be a huge detriment or a loss on opening day. But
Well, on opening day, I'll give you that.
Yeah.
But other than that, I think the staff would disagree, just for the sake that there are people who were disappointed last year that they couldn't have concessions.
Understood, but Mary, I think if we had to weigh the disappointment in not having a concession versus it's 78 degrees and the gate's closed, I think, not being open is a bigger issue than having a bottle of water or something available.
Well, that's fine.
Yeah.
I don't think that's apples to apples, actually.
Well, I know a lot of people have pulled up to the park, I've seen them, and the gate's closed.
No, and we've been having calls already.
Yeah.
From people.
And that's a real disappointment when, your money's going towards this beach, your tax dollars, and it's closed. People wonder why. We're not serving the public that way. And again, I could equate the disappointment in that is a lot heavier than not having
That's
a
fine.
concession.
The other thing I wonder about is it's been brought up about using the T-posts and the fencing,
The what post?
the posts and the fencing to
The
keep
goose
the
fence.
geese.
The goose fence you talking about?
Yeah,
Oh,
Yes.
like the snow fence.
to keep the
Oh.
geese up because
Yeah.
it is really a problem this year. Last year, we didn't notice it much, but they've been there. The geese, the sandhill cranes, and I think swans, and it's really significant this year.
It is.
So I don't know, I was never involved when they were using the fence, so I don't know how labor intensive that is. So, can you share that? I don't know.
Well, I think it's time for history.
Okay,
We've always followed the school year for open and close on the beach. In a couple September 5th or 6th, when it was 85 degrees, a few people bitched, how come the beach ain't open? Because we open and close traditionally with the school. The other thing is, we had to put up a sign that stated you had to be a certain age, or you had to be accompanied by somebody a certain age older than you, because we ended up being a babysitting service. People would pull up to the gate, drop off 6 kids, nobody's responsible. That happened a lot of years. That's why we had that stipulation in there. The goose fence, animals are taught by repetition. So every year we had the goose fence up. We don't have to unroll it all the way back. We split it in the middle, roll it back for enough to access the beach. So last year we taught the old geese the beach is open. And they brought back their 5 or 6 babies and taught them the beach is open this year. Now we have 8 swan matches, nesting matches on the lake. And they like our end of the lake. It's easier to feed and stuff. Now, if we get a goose nesting anywhere like between us and Lakeside Park, you're going to have some problems with male geese or male swans. They're very aggressive, so are male geese. In the geese population, last winter there was at least 30 sandhill cranes that wintered over, along with the swans, in our beach all winter long, because they could get in and out. Only a few ducks. So, and last year I talked to different people that were out. They spent a lot of hours picking up droppings of geese. They came in the beach and they said, we can't catch up to it. There's always more to do. So that's why we didn't. Other people thought we don't need the goose fence. We've had that goose fence up for 15, 20 years. We used to do goose roundups on Bush Lake, because I used to be involved with the DNR doing goose roundups when it's cold. And when they're molting, they can't fly, so we herd them up, where they go. There's parks around here, and in Ann Arbor, a big thing, the geese have gotten smart. And they were going to euthanize them, because it costs a lot of money to take a goose from here to Iowa. Big money. So that's where a lot of these geese went, was to Iowa. So right now, you're going to see a lot more fowls on Bush Lake. Geese. The swans will keep the geese away, but you don't want a goose near the beach. They'll come right after you. And you can be from here to the beehive away, and that male's gonna come out and get you. And they say like the wings of a goose, if you went to get too close to one of those, and that's what they do is they flap their wings, they can break your arm. A goose is a big animal. Not a goose, that's bad enough. The swans are really dangerous. We always used to have 2 nesting pairs on the lake for years. Now we got 8. Now they're gonna have babies. Well, how many are we gonna have next year? Double? So I would say the goose fence is a big thing. Little twirlygigs and owl decoys don't work. Been there, done that. Yep. And pretty soon the DNR is going to have to address the fact with two things in Michigan: geese and deer. And people don't want to cull them, but you know, sometimes you got to take care of what's going on. So that's some of the history of the beach.
So how labor intensive is putting up that?
Well, we usually never take the steel posts down. And you don't want to put the spades in the ground because you'll never pull them out. So what we do is we put them about every 8 feet, 8 or 10 feet, all the way across the beach. Then there's 2 rolls of orange snow fence. You roll them from the ends of the beach to the, or you start in the middle and roll them to the ends of the beach. So when the crew gets there in the morning, 2 people or 1 person goes up and rolls it back, one side back 15 feet, the other side 15 feet. You got 30 feet of access. If the beach gets more crowded, you roll them back. Then at night you roll them back and hook them. It's that easy. But they used to roll them every day all the way back to the ends. Well, most of the ends of the beach are weedy and mucky, so there's no sense in opening that up unless the 4th of July you're going to roll them all the way back. So that's about it for why we used to do everything we used to do, because there was a big reason for it. And Lakeside Park has a big goose problem. And a couple years ago, I was down at the beach and a lady came in crying. She said, I got a big family reunion over at Lakeside Park and we can't even get there because the goose manure is so bad. She goes, can we use your pavilion? How much does it cost? I said, lady, you go ahead and move on over here because we don't have it rented. Use it and then go see our parks director Monday, and that's when we used to rent it for $100. You go see her then, because this was on a Saturday, and she was really upset. Just help yourself. That's what everybody liked about our pavilion at our beach was the goose manure. It wasn't there, or very limited. So that's the history. And like I say, by mid-June, when the geese start coming up with their babies and everything else, go over and try to walk from Lakeside Park, from the road to the water. Oof. It's nasty. Now how they take care of the goose manure problem, 0-turn lawnmower. That's the best way to take care of it, because you can't get out there and shovel goose manure. It's just goosey, you know. You spend all day, so wait for it to dry, and in fact, right now, they're mowing Lakeside Park every other day.
Well, last year I was part of the crew that was scooping up the manure, and it was tedious and difficult. And so, yes, if we can find a manageable scoop. I don't know if any of you remember the Fry Daddy, those little things with the metal little scoop,
Yep.
So I had taken it and hooked it to a, and we were using that to, difficult. But either way, I'm not opposed to using the fence.
It always works. It cuts down on goose poop. And the other thing is, when we had the rafts out there, we had 2 problems. Geese on the raft and seagulls. And every day we had to send somebody out there with a big bristle brush and a bucket. And we only had 2 rafts out, and scrub the manure off of our rafts. And I mean, they spent time out there getting it all off, washing them good, take a little bleach, because, ooh, seagulls.
I'm not quite sure anyone's in favor of putting the rafts out this early.
No.
However, I believe personally that I don't think there's any reason not to open for Memorial Day. People are out, especially in nice weather, trying to find places to go and have fun. And I agree that when people drive by and see it chained and locked up, that's going to be a bone of contention. And I don't think there's a problem. Even on the concession end, it would not be hard at all to get concessions in there. I just think that we need, if we can open staffing wise and be safe, I think we should. So
So are you looking at just Memorial Day or from Memorial Day forward?
at this point, I would just start with Memorial Day. I understand the staffing issues that you brought up. I understand that things that Commissioner Hutchins has said. I think we need to take a look at our plan going forward. But right now, for this year particularly, I would say let's start with Memorial Day, and we can go from there. See, when I asked you about it, Manager Blanchard, you said that you were not quite sure that there was the interest and people weren't going to be there as much. I totally understand that, and not being around like you were last year, I don't know that. I take your word for that. But I think if we're open, people will come.
Well, just for everybody else and for the public.
Yes.
When we had talked about it, one thing that is my concern is the fact that last year Seven Lakes was closed. And I think that is going to have an influence that people may not come. However, we did gain some people by the fact that we did have it out on social media. We did learn that people came specifically because they found it on social media. We had, a woman who came weekly from Howell and just liked our quiet and, uncrowded beach. And she would come and just lay her blanket out and spend her 3 hours and then head home, which is fine. But towards the end of the summer, we had a group of senior citizens who would come and play cards at the beach. So it's not that I don't think that there are going to be some people. I just think that there may be less people than what was last year. Also, Groveland had a problem at the end of the season with issues with E. coli. So, there may not be as many people coming from Groveland as well. But we're just going to have to see how it plays out. I mean, we don't know. And I think, the commission is already planning to have the beach open, so I'm not opposed to that. And, we can certainly adjust if we need to. And what we had done previously was we always had 2 people, just for safety reasons, of staff to be at the beach at all times. We anticipate that there may be weekends when we are going to have 3 people there all the time. So, that can be flexible. And I agree that, weather dependent, last year there were times when I would show up and it would be like kind of drizzling and people would be like, the staff would be like, well, yeah, we're going to open. I'm not sure we need to be here today. So, that's going to be a work in progress. So.
I learned to play euchre on rainy days there. And just for the new people, even to the board and to Holly, we used to open at 9 o'clock and close at 9 o'clock, so 12-hour period, where now we're open half that time, 12 to 6. So when you have people at the beach, you have
it's not 12 to 6.
12 to 8, I'm sorry,
Yeah,
12 to 6 in
For the
August.
majority of summer, it's 12
Yeah.
to 8.
August, we revert to 12 to 6, my apologies.
Mm-hmm.
But with people in the water and activity, you scare away a lot of that wildlife. You're going to have the wildlife problem. It contributes to E. coli as well. So,
Yeah.
But the best thing we can do for that beach all around is to encourage attendance and have people in the water and stirring up some of that silt and, promote activity, is my opinion, so.
So currently, what is the last day of school? What is our,
June 12th is a Thursday, and that's the last day of school. We will be participating in the end of the school program that Holly Area Youth Coalition, or Community Coalition will be putting on at Crapo Park from 7 to 9 p.m. that day. We are planning on doing the disc golf
Demonstration
portable
practice.
unit that we have that they said was popular last year, so we're going to be bringing that again. So that Friday, the 13th,
Yeah.
could be a challenge. So if the commission chooses, we can plan on starting that day. But if you think that you want to start on Memorial Day, I guess we can try and accommodate that. I have spoken to all of the people who were returning, and one of the returning people also asked her neighbor, who contacted me, and I think she's willing to come this year too. Unfortunately, with the Michigan Works, they do not know of any people who are interested in performing that at the beach or here at this time. So we would be paying out of our budget for that staff to do it.
Also, Seven Lakes is open this year.
I know, yep. The other thing is Tom and Brenda and Lisa are Michigan Works people, particularly Tom, because he's at the borderline time of when he is supposed to move to another organization. He did get the okay, and Brenda also has a waiver that they can stay here as long as they serve at least one day over at the beach. So, I think we're going to have plenty of staff over at the beach. However, due to health issues, like the beginning of June is going to be a little touchy here because of some health things going on with the staff. So we might need to pull from the beach, increase the number of people that we are using to staff here, which normally we don't pay for because it's a Michigan Works program. We might end up having to bring some people over to staff here.
The rest of the month forecast is below normal temperatures. I keep my eye on the weather a lot because of farming and stuff. And the temperature, probably the water, Memorial Day in Bush Lake will be 60, 62 degrees. So I don't think anybody's going swimming. That's the other thing. And like this week, starting Thursday night, we're supposed to have some bad storms into Friday and different things like that. Today we're supposed to have rain, but it petered out. But, like you said, we had cold rain days down there, and we didn't shut down for rainy days, And for a couple years, we had surveys done, not surveys, actual beach participant counts. When Amy Childers was here, and it's probably in the records, that's why we shut down. We were closed on Wednesdays. 3 people on the area showed up on Wednesdays because people have something else to do. So everybody that came in, the beach staff would go, okay, at 10 at high noon, or whenever we started, 10 or high noon, 3 people came in. And then 1 o'clock, 2 of those people left, and then 3 more people came in. So it was all what time of day, how many people came and went, whether they were adults or teenagers or kids, or small children. So we did that religiously every day we were open. So we knew how to staff the beach and how many people used the beach.
So when did that actually happen? Because it wasn't happening when I was there.
Amy Childers, when she was running the beach, running the parks. And she left about a year ago. So she had everybody write down who came in at what time they left, how long they stayed, the whole thing, so we knew. That's why we said, we're gonna be open on Wednesday, because 3 people showed up. And sometimes if you see some cars at the beach, they're over at Lakeside. I don't know why they park at the beach and they walk over through. I get to see a lot of the beach in Lakeside Park because I live down the street. I'm always going one direction or the other.
Well, I do recommend that we put a sign up to put at the corner of Thomas and,
Holly Bush.
yeah, because I think there's many people who still don't know that our beach is open. We did have comments last year that people thought it was a club or something else. So I just think that we put a little sign up, that's all.
You know, if they Google anything, where local beaches are or parks, we should be in there.
That, and I think an aggressive social media campaign would help as well. But as with anything, if we're not open, no one's gonna come. So I understand the poll that Commissioner Hutchins is talking about, and I totally agree we should continue that. However, I do know that, if it's not open, no one's gonna be there. And I just feel that we need activities in parks open so that the public can come attend. I think that's essential. So.
And the address of the beach is 501 Thomas Street.
All right. Is there any other discussion? For this is the agenda item to be open on Memorial Day only. It was not changed, so that's the only thing we can approve. Hearing no further discussion, I will entertain a motion to approve opening the beach for Memorial Day only.
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Carl. Do I have a second? I will second that. Second by Wright. Because this would affect our budget, I am going to call for a roll call.
Carl,
Yes.
Hutchins,
We'll give it a try, yes.
Wright,
Yes.
Earl, yes.
All right. Motion passes. All right, moving right along. Item D is a motion to approve and authorize the purchase of 3 iPhones and 1 iPad for staff. I'm going to introduce this item. The cost is not to exceed $140 per month with a one-time fee of $423.99. The purpose of these purchases, I believe, is twofold. First, our staff currently uses personal cell phones to conduct township business, which presents concerns about FOIA compliance, privacy, and record keeping. Issuing township-owned devices will ensure, township parks-owned devices will ensure all official communications will remain properly documented and separate for personal use. Secondly, the iPad will be used at the Holly Township Beach for Square POS transactions, allowing us to accept digital payments for concessions, modernizing our operation and improving the customer experience for park visitors. The monthly cost is not to exceed $140 with a one-time setup cost of the purchase of the iPad, which is $423.99. I now bring this proposal to the Commission for discussion and consideration. Any discussion? Hearing none. Roll call, please. Or, I'm sorry, I apologize. Do I have a motion?
Oh, just one question.
Yes.
How many cell phones?
It will be 3 cell phones.
Okay.
1 issued to Manager Blanchard, one to maintenance supervisor, Mel, and then one would be a beach staff
Yeah,
for emergencies.
just so we have clarification of
Yes.
who, what, where, when, and why.
Appreciate that, thank you.
And then also, are we gonna have a designated place for those phones? Somebody specific, I mean, especially at the beach, is the staff gonna carry it?
I believe the cell phone should stay in the concession shack. And we can enact policies and procedures that would make that happen. Also, security-wise, there's options that we can make sure that it does not leave the beach area. So,
I guess I have one concern about that, though. If it's in the shack
mhm,
and people need to be around the beach,
mhm.
would they hear it? And would somebody have access to it if somebody outside of the staff, if they went into the shack?
My opinion is that the beach staff would be allowed to carry it around, during their, their rounds.
Waterproof,
Right.
waterproof
Possibly, yeah.
cases.
Okay, that's what
Yeah.
I wanted to
And
clarify,
then, of course,
because
we
I think
can-
that would be a good idea.
Yes, thank you. We could also lock it up, in the shack when it's not being used,
Mhm.
so.
The other question I had is the fact that I have an Android, and if I'm using like an iPad, is there any kind of, because I'm not tech savvy, is there any kind of connectivity issues there, or no?
It's pretty much anymore, it's pretty much one and the same. There are differences. However, I don't believe that the differences are large enough to deter using that. The reason we're going with the iPhones is that through Verizon we have governmental discounts, and it comes out to the iPhones would be free after
I'm not
after the
opposed to
subsidies.
it.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure, because I think back in the day, there was problems where the one phone couldn't communicate if you had documents that went back and forth, and,
No,
know.
all
that-
the iPhones would be able to be connected to our Holly Township Park server.
Okay.
So if you need to access anything on the online server, you'll be able to do that.
Excellent.
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
Yes, one small
Yes.
question. You referred to the concession side of the beach house.
Mhm.
Is that water side?
Water side,
Okay,
We call that the guard shack.
the guard shack.
The other one's storage.
yeah, okay.
Thank you. If there's no other discussion, I'll entertain a motion to approve and authorize the use or purchase of 3 iPhones and 1 iPad for staff. Is there a motion?
I'll motion.
Motion by Carl. Do I hear a second?
One second.
Seconded by Earl. Roll call, please.
Carl,
Yes.
Hutchins. Hutchins,
Yes,
Wright,
Yes.
Earl, yes.
All right, motion passes. Item E is a motion to approve and authorize the purchase of new computer equipment for the Nature Center. I will also introduce this item. Specifically, this includes a new desktop workstation for general staff use and a laptop to be issued to the Parks Manager, Mary Blanchard. These upgrades are necessary to support daily operations and allow staff to work efficiently using Township Parks issued devices on Township Parks business. Additionally, we will be reassigning the donated laptop that we already had to our commission secretary, allowing her to work on agenda and other items that she needs to, also on Township Parks issued devices. These steps ensure that official business is conducted on Township Parks-owned equipment, which supports our goals of transparency, accountability, and proper record keeping. The total budget of this proposal is not to exceed $2,400. I now open the floor for questions or a motion for the commission.
This has been needed for a long time. We've talked about this for 2 years. It's time.
Is that a printer for the,
I'm sorry?
is it just for the computer?
Yes.
And not a
The,
printer?
the printer, I believe we have a contract with,
Yeah.
Okay,
so, yeah.
so that's no issue.
Any further discussion?
And the other day, when you scanned, I think that auditor's report, that all worked well?
It did, however, I noticed that during the scan, it turned sideways. There's a way that I can program the printer for it not to do that.
Okay.
So, but that's the only issue I had, so.
Because that's one of the things that has been an issue for me and why I've been bringing my laptop so much is that I find that I haven't tried it, as far as that, but I think that would be a really helpful part of the job is to be able to do that and do things digitally.
Once I have all the network set up, what will be able to happen is the printer will be able to scan to a network device that holds everything that we're working on. Any computer that is hooked up to our network, the private network, will be able to access that document repository. So when you scan it in, it'll go right to there. You're able to access that and do with it as you need to. So.
And I would like to say that, because I'm not tech savvy, you had set that up for us, and one day Cindy and I were collaborating on the minutes, and we were both working in real time on the minutes. I mean, that was amazing.
From it was very helpful.
Yeah, it really is. It's wonderful the advances in office style programs that we see today.
And there's people at home shaking their head and going, "Wow."
Yeah. Anything further? Seeing none, I will entertain a motion to approve and authorize a purchase of new computer equipment for the Nature Center. So it includes equipment to be issued to the Parks Manager or Commission Secretary with a cost not to exceed $2,400. Is there a motion?
I motion.
Motion by Carl, is there a second?
I will second that.
Commissioner Roll seconds, thank you. Roll call, please.
Carl,
Yes.
Hutchins.
Yes.
Wright,
Yes.
Earl, yes.
Motion passes. All right, next we go on to reports. Manager Blanchard would like to provide a staff report at this time.
Okay. I did meet with Rachel, our bookkeeper, on Tuesday. In our budgeting meetings, we had talked about possibly separating accounts, beach and nature center. Rachel wanted me to share that this would be very difficult from an accounting standpoint. It has been done in the past, and one of the reasons that they actually combined them was because of all of the details that are needed to be able to accomplish that. She said that if it were to be done again, it would greatly increase the time that she and the staff would need to itemize each of the items in separating those. And even if you were to go to the store and you were purchasing things in general, the staff would have to sit there and itemize per single item if it's going to the beach or if it's going to the nature center. And then she, as a staff person, would have to go and do the same thing. She would have to make sure that it, gets recorded as at the beach or if it was the nature center. So that would greatly increase time. Each item would need to be detailed and where it is the intended purpose. Rachel said that accounting time is increased and her time in reporting to the state of Michigan is also increased. The state has a chart of accounts that is set up so that they are able to watch organizations equally as they're doing that. Rachel said that there's a small amount of wiggle room in that, but if she varies too much, that she would have to totally create an entire new item to be doing that. So then, just so you're aware of those pitfalls as far as doing those separation things. The other thing is I did want to share, I did not realize until Commissioner Hutchins told me this yesterday, that our trails are not multi-use, that we are not able to accommodate mountain bikes or e-bikes on our trails, and I did not know that. So I just want to make the public aware, and maybe we should put a sign up. I haven't really seen any, so maybe it is public knowledge. I don't know, but I was not aware of it. I would also like to thank Commissioner Hutchins for leading the beach cleanup on May 3rd with ASP, and also for the other commissioners that did come. Joe arranged for the tools, and he led the cleanup both at the beach and then in the afternoon here at Sorensen for additional cleanup. And I wanted to thank Joe for also working with the tractor the other night when the bee people were here cleaning out the bee yard and having a heck of a time with some of the big roots that were there. And Joe went down and got the tractor and was able to do quite a bit of work in a short amount of time. So thanks, Joe. And then this recently, due to the fact that we had wanted to pursue fixing the drainage issues here by the Nature Center, and also with our painting projects before June 30th. Commissioner Hutchins and Commissioner Carl set up interviews for excavators regarding our road and drainage issues. We sent a follow-up letter and a diagram to those excavators, and we're hoping to receive some bids soon so that we can complete that project by the June 30th deadline. We are also in the process of getting painting bids for the beach and for the Nature Center. Our east wall here at the Nature Center needs to be done, and some of the boards also need to be replaced. Mel, our maintenance supervisor, said he is comfortable replacing the boards, and so we're still, I did already get a bid for the beach and for the east wall here, and I asked that particular company to also give a bid for the entire Nature Center in case we decide to do that. The other thing, if you look out the back, you'll see that there is a portion that has a trim board at where the seams meet, and wondering if we should continue that around the area, and whether that contributed to the fact that the T111 is separating. I don't know. It could be just the sun, it could be just the weather coming on that side, but the other sides of the building don't seem to have as much of an issue with that. Do you know, Joe?
Back in the day when they didn't have Smart Side, you had two choices, pine, T111, or fir. I did my house in fir and I have no separations, and I did that about 1986. So it was the quality of wood. I had pine up north from the Amish, and it started separating, and we kept it painted, and then I said, the best way to fix this is to put steel siding on my sheds, because we had porcupines up there that like pine, and they'll eat your house up north. Dang porkies. So that side of the building gets a lot of weather, so that's why it's separated.
Okay.
It was pine T111.
So would you recommend, though, doing the trim all the way around, or
Well,
no?
wherever it's needed, when you're talking about how much trim you got, how much more trim do you have to put up to get it more maintenance-free? You cut it to length, paint it down here, put it up, keep going. Yep, I would look at replacing all the trim. Also, future thing for thought, this is the original roof on this building, 1996. Up on this corner up here, we have to get some wet and forget from Walmart and spray that roof. It's a concentration to kill moss. Otherwise, the asphalt shingles will deteriorate faster. But we're probably looking at maybe the next year or two of re-roofing this building. And I suggest, again, steel roof. It's cheaper to install. It cost, as you saw the price difference for the beach and everything else, it wasn't that much more, and it's good for 40, 50 years instead of 20 or 25 years. So I would say, especially for out here, steel roof. It helps keep the snow off of it, everything else. She's got enough pitch to throw it, so yeah. But we're probably looking maybe 3 years on this roof. 3 years. That would be quite a cost. But a lot of roofers don't like to do steel roof because shingle roof is job security. I'll see you again in 20 years. Even if you buy 35-year shingles, you get 20 years out of them, you're lucky. So steel roof, 40 to 50 years warranty on them, can't beat it.
Okay. So today, the Northwest Oakland Bee Association brought out 2 beehives that were made by the Schwartz Creek shop class. And Jim Fuller is their teacher, and he is the vice president of NOBA. And they are beautifully painted by 2 of the students that were in that class. And so we're looking forward to having those bees coming soon to our nature center and invite the public to come and take a look. So I did cover the health issues. We also would appreciate direction from the commission as to when you would like Mel and Zach to increase their hours and possibly hire more maintenance staff for the grounds work and mowing. And just so for your information, my time has been spent primarily on projects around the nature center and with communication, and I have not spent much time on programming to this point. We are getting requests, particularly for an exercise group. There was a Facebook post, I believe, with someone wanting a children's program to be set up. And Mark Cornwell and I are talking currently about arranging a gardening and compost presentation. And I have reached out to Amy Childers to see if she knows of anyone with MSU Extension that might like to participate in that. I also had contact information with some people that live over on Hauser Road off Fish Lake, where one of the women, she works at a hospital and is involved, I believe, and this may not be correct, where she is involved in teaching on healthy eating and sustainable food growth. So we're kind of looking at that. And I think that's it for my report.
One addition, you and I and the assistant fire chief, Holly Village Fire Chief.
Yep.
Go ahead.
Previously, as you know, our fire system was proven to be obsolete, and we were going to have to either replace it, or we were able to install one extinguisher in the garage, so that saved us a tremendous amount of money. But we have a dry chemical system both here in the garage and upstairs, And Commissioner Hutchins thought that he might be able to disarm that because the fee for that was going to be close to $1,000 to take care of that. The fire, assistant fire chief,
Yeah.
he came out from the village of Holly, and he looked at it, and he was not comfortable in having Commissioner Hutchins disarm that. So just today, I did call Brandon Thomas with Vanguard, who is the company that installed those systems, and he said that he believes that the estimate that they gave would probably be that amount because they had scheduled that 2 of their staff people would be here throughout that process. And their biggest concern is getting the dry chemical tank down off of that first, the floor above, down to the lower level because it is an attic type of a ladder and it does not seem to be very stable. I mean, just the steps alone are difficult because they're very short kind of steps. So that would be one of the things because the tank is very heavy. And so they aren't anticipating that. He said that they would remove those and take those. I think he was flexible on the other components, on whether they needed them. But the assistant fire chief had said that they might take those if Vanguard didn't want them, so that they could use them for education purposes with their firefighters.
And actually, I still think the fire chief, assistant fire chief, legally couldn't say, yeah, Joe, go ahead and do it because of the liability. And I'm willing to work with Vanguard about de-arming those. If we can de-arm the bottles, we'll get the one down from upstairs. I got plenty of straps and stuff. We get 2 or 3 guys up there, slide it down the stairs, you know, bring it down. And if they want to take the bottle with them, fine, because it's hard to get rid of those bottles. But I'd be willing, and our staff willing to work getting the bottle from upstairs. And the rest of it's hard plumbing, which isn't hard, and the rest of it's electrical, which is just screwed to the wall. So once you kill the juice to it, you can take all that off and give it to the fire department or wherever they want it for teaching. But the assistant fire chief couldn't liability-wise say, yeah, Joe, go ahead and de-arm it. And it's a pretty basic system, and I'd like to be here with Vanguard and assist them and help them getting removal out of here, whatever saves us money. And we got enough staff, we can lower that bottle down. The other one, we can roll it out of here with a hand truck.
So Brandon is on vacation until Tuesday. So after Tuesday, he is gonna send over a new proposal with the new date and that. How do you want me to proceed with that?
Well, I'd like you to express to him that we will get him help getting it. I even got some friends, if we have to get 5 guys up there, that bottle doesn't weigh that much.
That's what I was gonna ask, do you know how much it weighs, like what are they?
I would say that that bottle, you can see them out and back here, I would say that bottle doesn't weigh over 300 pounds.
300?
Yeah. And I can't take it off and lift it up right now because it's bolted to the wall.
But like, what's the liability for any of those people who get hurt trying to get that down? Where do we sit on that? If Vanguard does it, they've got their people, obviously they're insured on that, but I'm just curious, what would our liability?
Well, if they're going to bring 2 people to bring that bottle down, we'll have 3 people here just to bring the bottle down. The more the merrier.
But I'm still not 100% clear on what you're intending. So if they have their 2 staff people here,
They only
and
need
you
one.
would be upstairs with them, is that what you're anticipating?
We only need
No,
one
he only
person.
needs one person. Would he reduce the 900 and some with only one person?
Yeah, we don't need 2 people to take a union off, take some pipe off and put a plug in a bottle
Okay.
and lower it down, because we use 3 guys to lower it down just to be on the safe side.
Okay.
We work smarter, not harder.
So when we get the bid,
Yep.
then we're gonna reach out to you or anybody and say, this is how much the bid came in. Are we gonna negotiate with Vanguard, or are we just gonna tell them that we want one person and what? Or
Well-
you're just gonna wait and see what the bid is first?
Well, we can do that, but I give them a heads up so that we aren't going back and forth on bids. All we need is one person to say, hey, Joe, take that pipe apart and put that plug in there. We gotta cut the head of the snake off. Once you plug off that bottle, nothing electrically can open up that bottle and let the fire retardant out. That's the only thing the fire chief was wondering about. And if anybody wants me to explain, to go to the back room, I can show you physically how that thing is set up and why it's set up that way, and how that bottle could leak over the years. The pressure, that's like your fire extinguishers, it goes down to recharge. Them bottles don't have a gauge on, but it could go down to recharge. So to recharge that bottle, you gotta take the bottle out to recharge it. So that's what we're gonna do, is we're gonna make sure that we disconnect that bottle so it can't go off on its own if you cut the electric off. So that's all I need, somebody to say, hey, Joe, put that plug back in the bottle. Okay. It's de-armed. So all we need is one of their technicians to say, there, that's it. And if they want to take the bottles, we'll help load it in a truck. Because we can't take the bottles to the scrapyard because it's under pressure fire retardant. So we can't take them. My neighbor's a scrapper. He can't take propane bottles, and he can't take fire extinguishers because of that reason. Even the little handheld torches, they don't allow them at the junkyard because they're under pressure. That
But
plate,
I'm assuming since the fire chief wanted Vanguard to be involved,
They
Yeah.
are.
that they're more
yeah, well, that way the guy,
comfortable with their technician actually doing it.
right, and that's the way it takes any question out, because unless there's a booby trap in there somewhere, it's pretty basic of how that thing's plumbed up.
Okay,
You know, just tell them we're gonna do you a favor and we're gonna supply the manpower.
Yep,
And do us a favor and work on that bid.
well, I can, if the commission wants, I can send an email to Brandon ahead of time
yep.
and just say that, I'm speaking about this, this is the direction that we're leaning, before you even send the bid.
We can supply the knowledge to dismantle these 2 units. We just need somebody to say, do that. We got the tools, we got the knowledge, we got everybody to do it.
All right,
Are you understanding that directive, Manager Blanchard?
I think so.
Okay.
If anybody wants to work on the email with me, I'd be fine with that too.
All right. Is that the end of your report?
It is.
Okay. Commissioner Earl, any report?
I do not have anything to.
Okay. Mr. Carl?
Other than adding to the paint proposals, I did reach out to Great Lakes, who sent a proposal last year, and updated them on the addition of the bathhouse, and then they came out and looked at this facility here. So should be expecting that soon, and I'll turn it over.
Great, thank you.
Commissioner Hutchins?
I have nothing to report.
All right. Thank you.
So I do have one question though. So I have one bid that came in. You have the Great Lakes,
We need a third.
right?
Yeah.
And you never heard back from,
I tried to reach Mr. Montgomery unsuccessfully today. I've called Vince twice, he called him once, and I don't know. He hasn't responded to me, or I texted him, I should say. And I'm not sure he's responded to Mr. Montgomery.
okay, and the person that Joe had recommended, I did leave a voicemail for
Perkins.
him as well, and didn't hear anything back. So, would the commission like me to pursue further, or do we just want to go between two, or?
I have another bid coming in probably on
Oh,
Friday.
that's correct.
Yes.
Yes, excellent, thank you.
Good.
And we'll see what shakes out this spring. A lot of people are still doing interior painting too right now, finishing up winter project homes over in the subdivisions.
Okay.
They ought to break loose here pretty soon, hopefully.
All right, I'll go ahead with my report. First, I want to talk about the Verizon phone number issue that we've been having here at the Nature Center. I want to provide a brief update on the ongoing issue with our department's main phone number. While the number was successfully ported to Verizon, transferred from AT&T, we have noticed that AT&T customers are still receiving a disconnected message when attempting to call. Verizon has confirmed that their end is functioning correctly, and the issue appears to be with AT&T's internal routing. I've already been in contact with our representative from Verizon. He has sent a ticket into AT&T, and we are persistent working on that issue. The reason I am so persistent is because the number we've used that number for a good amount of years, and I'd prefer not to have to change it. So I will continue working with Verizon and provide further updates as they come in. Second, I would like to update the commission on the Holly Little League season. The 2025 Spring Holly Little League season is in full swing. To date, 20 games have been played across both Sorensen fields, with 2 more games ongoing as we speak. Teams from Swartz Creek, Linden, Heartland, Grand Blanc, Waterford, and Lake Benton have all visited. We've received numerous compliments on the cleanliness and overall condition of both the fields and the park. The only reoccurring concern shared to us had been the distance between the lower field and the nearest restroom. That's the only issue, and perhaps we can consider talking about that in further seasons. Third, I would like to talk about the brush and the compost pile concerns. Earlier this week, I met with a concerned resident regarding the brush and compost piles located at the Nature Center. The main concern involved confusion about where to place materials and whether the area is open for public use. This is something that I believe that we should prioritize addressing. I believe the solution starts with clear signage indicating hours of operation and exact locations on where to dump brush and pick up compost. I'll continue looking into this and report back with any recommendations I might have at a future meeting. And that would be the end of my report. Okay. We now open the floor for general public comment. Members of the public can address the commission once recognized by the chairperson for any items. Comments are limited to 4 minutes. The commission may extend this time for up to an additional 4 minutes by majority vote. Prior to addressing the commission, members of the public are asked to state their name and address for the record. Is there any members of the public here for public comment? Hearing none, seeing none. If there is no further business, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
I motion for adjournment.
Motion by Carl. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Seconded by Earl. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. This meeting is adjourned. Our next meeting will be held on June 11th, 2025 at 6 p.m. here at the Sorensen Park Nature Center. Thank you very much.